Hi, my name is Paul Grogan, and in this gaming rules video I'm going to be giving you an overview of the board game Asgard, released in 2012 by What's Your Game. In Asgard, players will influence the various Norse gods, recruit troops to fight for them, build temples, and fight in battles across the 9 different worlds. After 5 rounds of play, RAGNAROK begins, and the gods do battle. You will score additional points if you're supporting the winning side. Gameplay is a little different from other games in that the 5 rounds are preparation for the final battle, which plays out differently from the rest of the game. It takes at least one play to understand the intricacies of Asgard and the impact that the actions you take have on the final battle, but I hope this video helps you do that. In the centre of the game board are the 9 worlds of Norse mythology, with Asgard at the top and others that I'm not even going to try and pronounce. At the start of the game, population tiles are randomly allocated to the worlds, representing the peoples who live there. The upper 7 of these worlds are where battles take place at the end of each round and during Ragnarok. In Asgard itself, players can recruit warriors and giants and also spend any seals they've collected to gain additional influence discs. These discs may then be sent to one of the worlds to join in the battle or saved for influencing a god on the next turn. The edges of the board are spaces for each of the gods. Players use their discs to request the aid of that god, giving them enchanted stones and a special skill, or instead spend their stones to build a temple, which represents that the player is supporting that god in the final battle. At the start of each round, players secretly choose one god card from their hand for each influence disc they have. It's possible to try and predict what cards the other players will play, so you must choose your own cards carefully. Then, in order, each player reveals one of their chosen cards and places a disc either on one of the request slots or on the temple slot of the corresponding god. There is a limit of 1 disc per slot, as each god can only tolerate so much meddling. Alternatively, the player may place their disc in Asgard itself. There are no limits to how many discs can be placed in Asgard, as it's quite a big place. Once all discs have been allocated, each player in turn uses one of the ones they placed to perform the appropriate action. The first player to perform an action on any of the god slots receives the seal of that god as a bonus. These are used in Asgard to gain more influence. On a request slot, the god grants the player 2 enchanted stones, and the disc on the top space also gains the skill depicted on the board. All of the skills are fully explained on the reference sheet included in the game. To build a temple, the player must spend enchanted stones depending on which temple they want to construct. Larger temples cost more stones. Temples give victory points each round, but also represent that the player is siding with that god in the final battle. The player must then show their support for the god by giving up all of their recruits of one type that the god demands. This is not a bad thing, however, because the forces provided make that god stronger when Ragnarok comes. Finally, after building a temple, the player gets to decide which of the worlds the god travels to. Take the top god tile and place it onto one of the world spots, replacing the population tile that was there, which the player takes. Population tiles give a one-off ability that can be used during the game. A god placed on one of the lower worlds simply gives 5 victory points, whereas a god on one of the upper worlds takes part in battles at the end of the round and also in Ragnarok, so you must choose carefully. In Asgard, discs placed here allow the player to flip over one of the Asgard tiles and receive the bonus indicated. He may then buy additional recruits by spending seals as shown here. Seals can also be used for gaining additional influence discs. For each disc a player takes, they must spend the seal indicated plus any seals shown below each non-empty space to the left. For each disc taken this way, the player may either keep it to have extra influence in the next round, or instead send it to one of the 7 upper worlds to join in the battle that will be resolved at the end of the round. When placing a disc into a battle, players can choose to fight for the side of light on the left worlds, or the side of darkness on the right. In the battle on Asgard, players may choose either side. Fighting for the side of light grants the player a weapon tile, and fighting for darkness grants a wizardry tile, as those evil guys always get the cool stuff. These tiles will be useful during Ragnarok, so again, choose wisely. At the end of each round, battles are fought in each of the 7 upper worlds where a disc has been placed. Draw the top ancient weapon tile from each of the weapon stacks and add the value to the strength of the population tile on the world. The side with the higher total wins, and if a player has a disc on the winning side, it's moved to the victory area of that world. If a disc is on the losing side, or the battle is tied, the player may spend their own recruits to increase the strength of their side, with warriors adding 1 strength and giants adding 2. After adding recruits, if the battle is still not won, the disc is moved into the middle of the board, where it may be assigned to a new battle in the following round. In a god versus population battle, the people are powerless, so the strength total for that side is only the value of the ancient weapon. If 2 gods do battle, the value of the god tiles are added to that of the ancient weapons as normal. After all battles have been resolved across the 7 worlds, each player receives a battle tile based on how many discs they have in victory areas. For example, Blue has been in 3 successful battles during the game, and therefore gets a 9 victory point tile. After 5 rounds, the great final battle of Ragnarok takes place, and it's this event which the players have spent the rest of the game preparing for. So before I go any further, let's just have a recap of the things that have led us to this point. Players who have built temples means that they are supporting that god in the final battle and will receive victory points if they are on the winning side. The god's strength is increased based on the recruits donated to that god when temples were built. Also, any weapon and wizardry tiles collected by a player will allow them to turn the battle in their favour. A world in which no god tiles are present does not take part in Ragnarok. On a world where a god is fighting the population, the people receive a randomly chosen ancient weapon tile. Note that during the game, the population were powerless against the gods. However, during Ragnarok, they are fighting to reclaim their world, and therefore their strength is now counted. Where 2 gods fight each other, neither receive an ancient weapon. To help visualise which players support the gods, move the discs on the temple spaces below the god tiles. Recruits from each god are then placed onto the worlds. If the god is present on 2 worlds, the forces are divided evenly. Any fallen warriors who are in Valhalla may then return to join in the battle for the light gods, allocated 1 at a time by the players in turn order. And finally, players allocate their weapon and wizardry tiles face down next to gods that they support. Once all of this is done, Ragnarok is resolved in each of the worlds in ascending order. All tiles are revealed and the values added. On this world, Odin wins the fight with a strength total of 9 against 7. Since Yellow is the only player supporting Odin, he receives both victory point rewards. Wizardry tiles can affect the result. This one, for example, doubles the value of all recruits on that side. In this battle, Freya wins, and Blue scores the higher victory points as he built a temple first. If the battle is tied, or the population wins, nobody scores the points. After Ragnarok is over, the victory point totals are compared, and the player with the most points wins the game. I hope you found this video useful in understanding how to play Asgard. For more information, please check out the What's Your Game website. Take care, and thanks for watching.